So I love Kanye West very much for a number of reasons. But in a recent interview between himself and Piers Morgan, there's a particular segment of the interview that caught me off guard. Here it is.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you can ignore me. You can ignore me.
Piers, how much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe you'll get richer.
I would love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
What I believe is that money should not influence how you see people in the sense of intellect, smartness, intelligence, or their ability to just rationalize. What Kanye West did there was say you have nothing of value to actually say because you can't even build your own income to the level where I'm at. You can't build your net worth to the level where I'm at. So the question that I have for you simply then is, what happens when you then lose that very wealth that you hold in such high regard? Should we respect your opinion less? Should we say the same Les from yesterday or the same Ye from yesterday who had powerful inputs for the world that we live in, who was teaching us stuff, who was enlightening us, who was being influential in our circle of friends, our circle of relationships, and in the lives that we live, who was so influential to make us better people? Should we suddenly see him as less of a person just because he's not worth what he was today? As it is, Forbes is already declaring that Kanye West is no longer valued at above $1 billion. He's now no longer a billionaire. Just a week after this said interview. So if we were to go by his viewpoints as far as the status and symbol that money actually gives you in relation specifically to character, then unfortunately we'd be stuck in a very negative loop because he's no longer a billionaire. I have a recent experience. We literally just come from our wedding about 2 weeks back, and we spent over 600,000 rand. Money we saved, money we worked towards, money in which we created via passive income. I'll make a video around specifically how we made our money so that we could freely spend over 600,000 for our wedding, right, in totality. So money gives you those exposures. So I understand the importance of having money, the importance of being able to experience things that people with money may not necessarily get in their lifetime. The ability to travel, the ability to eat in expensive restaurants, the ability to network with high net worth individuals, the ability to speak a language that's on a higher frequency than most just because you have specific money in your bank account or in assets or the like. Now, it is important to note that I understand the various agendas that are coming at him from various angles. However, there's certain things that are not justified according to my perspective and my views. The first thing being that money shouldn't dictate your character and necessarily how you treat people that you may feel are beneath you just by virtue of their net worth. There's so much to people, to people's character, to people's minds, to people's perspectives, to people's opinions that can build you no matter the level or stature that you are at that particular point in time. So it's sort of, not even sort of, it actually really disappointed me to hear Kanye West actually express himself in that way. Yes, he was agitated. Yes, there were several factors that were influencing how he thought, how he responded, and how he reacted at that particular point in time. But the answer he gave in that moment is something not to be so desired. Now, it gives us the opportunity to learn about money, the different perspectives, especially how money actually influences how you treat people at the end of the day. How money actually influences the world around you and how you interact and engage with that particular world around you. The first thing to note is your specific relationship with money, which begs the question, which is another lesson: is money actually real? Is money actually real? Go research the history of money. Go research the history of fiat currency. Look at where money is actually going currently as far as blockchain, as far as Bitcoin is concerned. Look at where money is going, the structure, the regulations around money, and how it's just digits on a screen, even when it's just paper. The value of the dollar against what money actually means. It's about the symbolism, what money actually means. Is it really real? I believe that's a valid question to ask before you actually give too much weight to what a person says and how they influence your thinking. Think about whether fiat currency in and of itself is truly of value, or is it just digits on a screen that are there to actually stifle our ability to think freely of the actual system that was created. Very good rational thinking that needs to come into place there. Let me premise that with my own personal story. Last week, my daughter 𝐔𝐬𝐞𝐝 was actually invited to a kiddies party. It was at a venue called 𝐌𝐮𝐬𝐤𝐝, so my wife and the kids actually went there while I was running my own errands at that particular point in time. Later on, they then moved to the home of the host, right? And that's when I got the opportunity to go join them. So to avoid using 2 vehicles, I Ubered down. Firstly, the neighborhood is a posh neighborhood. It's a neighborhood where high net individuals actually live. Secondly, the house itself, the home, it's a beautiful home. It's massive in stature. It's quite beautiful in architecture. The furniture inside, it's quite welcoming, and it's an actual home that received us very, very well. Then the person, right? The husband, because of he's a widowed husband, so the wife actually passed away during COVID. His humility. We had met at my daughter's school, so both of my daughters go to the school, right? But with him, he has daughters who are twins that go to that same school, and then also this young daughter whose birthday was being celebrated on that specific day. Now, what I want you to note is that prior to me seeing where he stayed, prior to me engaging him much, and prior to this particular birthday party, I saw him as honestly a peer, right? I had no convoluted opinions about him, about where he stays, about his wealth. I just got together that he has tons of kids, and I got to deduce as well that he must be able to afford the lifestyle of 8 children. But having gone to his home, having been hosted by him, my views were altered, they were influenced, and that's what money does, right? Without him having to say much in that particular venue, I could see how we, as his guests, were actually interacting with him. We had a different interaction versus if we weren't actually at his home, versus if we weren't seeing actually the level of money and the level of wealth where he is at, right? But how he treated us was quite different. And I wouldn't know when he's agitated, put in a corner, and there are various agendas against him, how he'd react. But at that particular point in time, he wasn't on any high horse, and he didn't allow his money and influence to actually allow him to downplay our existence, or for him to actually look down on us in any way, right? So there are a couple of things in that. One, money does influence how people look at you. Money does influence how people interact with you. Money does influence the type of relationships that you have. However, going back to Kanye West's example, money can't then influence you to look down upon people just because of the amount of influence and power that it gives you. Money has the ability to give you that power. However, being the savvy businessman that Kanye West is, he understands that he needs people that are more brilliant than him. So does it mean that he doesn't take advice from his own people within his own various companies? I believe that can't be the case. Obviously, he must take advice from those individuals. They have a particular set of skills, a particular set of expertise they may not have the level of wealth that he actually has. So money shouldn't actually be the blocker that enables us as individuals to look down on other people and not actually hear their view. Number 2, your relationship with money is actually the most important thing ever, right? You must actually, in your search and in your endeavor for wealth, for riches, for money, you must actually understand why you're doing it. Can I just plug these 3 books that will help you, the viewer, actually understand your relationship with money better? Number 1 is from a South African author called 𝐌𝐮𝐬𝐤𝐜 𝐔𝐬𝐞𝐝. The name of the book is It's More Than Just Money, right? It's a guide for escaping the rat race, but the title is More Than Just Money. Number 2, The Rules of Wealth by Richard Templar. Each day you can read a rule, but the premise of the book is built around you actually understanding why you need to build wealth in the first place. Number 3, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Now that's a thick book, it's a 500-pager, but it's well worth it. And the first chapter deals specifically with what I'm talking about, your relationship with money. Is it security? Is it significance? Is it popularity? Is it power? Is it influence? And then a vast array of other reasons you need to understand, even encapsulate and add them all together to figure out exactly what is your specific relationship with money, right? Number 3, money tests your character. Are you the same with or without money? Do you believe you are more valuable and more important when you do have money? And then when you don't have money, you see yourself as less valuable? There's a story that I read in Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game, where he narrates the story about, I think it was a German guy who was the richest in Germany at the time. Then it so happens that when the next rankings came out the following year, he then committed suicide, and the rationale behind it was because he held himself to such high esteem as the richest person. When those rankings came out, he was no longer the richest person. He was now second. Now, I can't fully attribute that to just being second. Obviously, life may happen that may cause people to jump in front of the train like he did. But it is something to actually think about, to actually measure, to actually fathom. You never know. You just never know. Money does influence how you look at people. So I should give kudos to Kanye as far as that is concerned. Because when you enter a room, you speak to an individual, you know nothing, absolutely nothing about that particular individual. You are likely to take whatever opinion they have with a pinch of salt versus somebody whose background and wealth status that you know. So take a situation now where you find out that the person you were speaking to, after you disregarded their opinion and what they were telling you and their inputs when you were just having a generic or general conversation, think about how your mindset would change if someone who knows that person came to you and said, wow, you were speaking with that guy. Do you know that he's a billionaire? He's a tech billionaire. Even though tech may not even be your industry, suddenly you'll start viewing that individual differently, because money in and of itself has some level of power. In fact, money in and of itself has the most level of power, because it has the ability to change a person's outlook and character. I know the famous saying that says that money doesn't really change you, it just reveals you. I call crap on that. I say money does change you to a very large degree, because the influences around you also change with the more money that you actually have. Who you communicate with, who you liaise with, the type of exposure. Money gives you a certain level of exposure that without that money you may not necessarily have. Kanye West has probably thousands of different exposures that Piers Morgan doesn't have, right? And those exposures also help to enlighten an individual, to brighten them up, to give them a certain of intellect, as per the status quo of measuring what IQ and intellect actually is. In the same way that we take some of our kids to private schools versus public schools, right? That type of exposure to different quality of education, exposure to a different network of friends, exposure to being exposed to actually money, like exposure to an environment where money is not a big deal. You are surrounded by people whose backgrounds, people whose situation is similar to yours. So there's limited pressure here and there, and your focus is to become the best version that you can be at that particular point in time, right? Those are some of the benefits of being exposed to money. So Kanye West has been exposed to money for a very long time, and that's why he can even take these drastic risks and decisions that are based solely on the money that he has. To him, having 120 million in his actual bank account, liquid cash, is not such a big deal, because he can move, he can do whatever it is that he wants to do whenever he wants to actually do it. And that's literally the exposure element that we are talking about there. Another important thing about money is that it's here today, it's gone tomorrow, right? You may have money in your bank account right now, but because the way the system works, you can suddenly have nothing. Ask people from Zimbabwe. They slept knowing that they have enough money for bread the next day. Then they woke up and couldn't even afford bread in the shop, because the system around how money works, how currency is influenced, and how the value of a particular currency works means you can literally have money today and have no money tomorrow. So should that influence how I see you as an individual? Should that influence the type of value that you can bring into my life? Should value only be seen and quantified in terms of fiat currency, or in terms of the system of money as we live in it today? Should that be the only way in which we value individuals? I believe not. There are many other principles that fulfill how individuals live, work, play, learn, and actually advance the human race overall. So money is here today, gone tomorrow. Be careful and don't allow it to shape the type of person you are, how you treat people, and the level of seriousness with which you consider what comes out of another person's mouth. So my departing point is actually a question, and it's a question to you watching this. Would you be able to sustain yourself and your character regardless of how much money you have? Would you be able to treat people well regardless of how much money they have? Would you be able to have a cause that's bigger than you regardless of the amount of money the community in which you reside actually has? Would you use the influence that you derive from money to actually do good in the world? Would you treat people with respect, ethically so, with integrity? Would you respect people the way the power that money gives you enables other people to respect you? Or does it even give people the ability to respect you? Those are the questions I'd like to leave you with. Because at the end of the day, I want us all to become wealthy. I want us all to receive the exposures. I want us all to be able to experience certain things that we otherwise may not be able to. I want us all to have successful businesses. I want us all to strive towards a better quality of life than the one that we live right now. I want us to have our own influence on the way systems work, on the way society works. And unfortunately, that system revolves around money. So the question is, are you able to maintain an integral part of your inner self and character regardless of how much money you actually get and build up? In answering those questions, remember, it starts with you. Cheers, guys.